Today on Live from the Theater Basement, we interview the cast and crew of TheatriKids' Othello. The show was done in 2016. We brought the cast and crew back together last summer and asked them, with the increased awareness of racial inequality throughout the country, not that we shouldn't have had that all along, we asked the students as part of this educational program how they felt about their earlier production of Othello. We interview 3 members of the cast, along with the dramaturg and Flagstaff Shakespeare Festival Executive Director, Dawn Tucker, all about how they feel about Othello. Coming up here on Live from the Theater Basement.
Are you in crisis? Call the Guidance Center's 24-hour crisis hotline at 877-756-4090. The Guidance Center is a nonprofit community mental health center with locations in Flagstaff and surrounding northern Arizona communities. The Guidance Center. It only takes a moment to get the help you need.
I'm your host, Chris Verrill. Tonight's correspondent, Joe Maniglia, with the cast and crew of TheatriKids' Othello, talking about racial inequality. Coming up here on Live from the Theater Basement.
All right. So why don't we start with you telling me who you are and the role that you played in our version of Othello.
I'm Jesse Dylan Baxter.
Hi, my name is Erin Butcher.
I am Becca Weigel.
So I am Dawn Tucker.
And I played Othello.
I played Iago.
I played Desdemona.
And I was lucky enough to assistant direct Othello at TheatriKids.
But it wasn't just like that just doesn't cover what you did. So
I have a master's of letters in Shakespeare and Renaissance literature in performance from Mary Baldwin University in conjunction with the American Shakespeare Center. So my master's degree is literally in how to perform Shakespeare.
See, I wouldn't have gotten that right, but.
So if I'm being honest, I think I auditioned for Desdemona because that was the show Theatrikos was doing, and I was like, okay, I like being in shows. And actually I ended up, it was a really difficult role for me. I think I had some trouble connecting with the character. That was rough for me, getting past like my nervousness about it.
But that was probably good though, because the character, for those people who aren't aware, she's wrongly accused of cheating on her husband, and it's all part of this plot that Iago sets in motion, and she is not an unfaithful person at all, and yet her honor is kind of dragged through the mud, and in the end she tragically is killed by her husband. Mm-hmm. So it was probably good that you were able to internalize, gosh, this is not you. That's not the way you live your life, and you did a fairly decent job, as I recall. And probably happens with every director. You always get nailed for, oh, come on, you know who's going to play what part, and I have to honestly say, you were the right choice. I mean, beyond just
stats demographics, yeah.
Right. It was like I couldn't imagine anyone else, playing that role. You were just, when you walked out in that uniform, I was like, there he is. That's the general. You were so clean cut, and you looked like you were in the military.
Yeah.
I wish you would have had all this military information when we were doing the show.
I know.
Would have helped us. You would have said,
right.
No, they're not. They don't wear that. You don't know what you're doing.
Even being in ROTC, I was just going back and watching the performance, and I'm like, oh, never would have had an untucked shirt, never would have not had a jacket on outside,
That's what happens when a pacifist directs a military play.
Understandable, completely understandable.
First of all, you came in as a favor to me just to, hey, we're going to be doing these auditions. Would you sit in and let me know what you think? And you were happy to do that, and that was great. And then you were like, hey, do you need any help? Because you obviously saw like the deer in the headlights look. And you were like, yeah, I better help this guy out or else it's just burn. And then you came on.
What I saw was the incredible amount of talent that you had in those kids, and I was so jazzed that I needed to work with them.
And she did very well. BTW.
I'm so good at playing a psychopath, I know.
No, I don't know. I wouldn't say psychopath. I would say Iago knew what he wanted. It was a chess game, and he was playing it very well.
He was playing it very well. I mean, in the end, ultimately, he did topple the queen, if we're going to talk about it in terms of chess. But he had his king captured, so what? Ultimately, I think he lost, but he played really well. He took out a lot of characters.
Yeah.
As something that was really prevalent for us in the play, we were focusing on the idea that Othello is a Moor, which means that he's Muslim, and at the time there was a lot of xenophobia around Muslims. I was kind of simultaneously representing a part of my identity and learning something about a different identity. So I was able to sort of show up as the black half and sort of represent that for Flagstaff, which Flagstaff desperately needed, and probably still needs. It's been a while since I've been back, but I can imagine. While at the same time learning about and being able to honor the Muslim side. So for me, it was a great moment of being able to take the stage and kind of lean into two stories that I wanted to see more in Flagstaff, while also finding little bits of places where I could educate myself more about other cultures and other experiences.
Yeah, I recall just how amazed I was at your the homework that you had done. I mean, we always ask people in the play, yes, learn your lines, and you did that you did, and you did well. I remember when I had this idea of using the 5 calls to prayer, because there are 5 acts in Othello, using that as kind of the framing device. And I think I probably said to you, hey, we'll probably have you do a call to prayer, or we'll get it taped. And you said, well, you came in and you knew it. And so you at the very beginning of the show, that call to prayer, that's you. That's not a taped voice. And I was just so impressed that you took it upon yourself to learn that, to take it into your character, to really inhabit that character, and made it much more believable than if I just said, hey, here are some extra lines for you to say.
It's always been interesting to me that things like that pop up in Shakespeare plays that seem like they're directly tied to what's happening now. Othello is a military story. It's a story about a black Muslim man. And in a lot of ways, the things that we're talking about today are, when it comes to xenophobia and Islamophobia, it's military in nature, with a lot of the unrest and Black Lives Matter movements going on right now. It's dealing with race, and that was all already in Shakespeare 400 years ago.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing that it was written when it was written, because the audience that saw it when it was originally written was probably as lily white as our Flagstaff audiences usually are. So it was pretty amazing that he had, I don't know if it's the foresight or, whatever it is, that he had that initiative to take on those matters.
It was pretty bizarre to see the comparisons to just like the way that people like Iago were trying to tear down Othello's station because of his identity, and like seeing those parallels in the world. I think around that time was when I was becoming a lot more aware of the Black experience elsewhere, through other literature and through hearing what else was going on throughout the country. So I think I was like recognizing how long a lot of the things in Othello have been going on, and I think that led to me taking the whole thing a lot more seriously. Theatrikos could have done a Shakespearean comedy, could have like done the old language, shown up for the people who all the parents and everyone who would go see the show and go, okay, well, here's your kid speaking Shakespeare, but there was like the very specific racial and religious implications we were trying to make, and that made it hit harder, I think, for me.
I will always cherish that production because of working alongside of you, and it was just a special time. So thank you. Well, whatever theater you end up acting at, I know they're going to be lucky to get you, because you're an amazing person. When you're back in town, please stop by and say hi.
Yeah, I'll let you know. It might be a little bit, since I don't know when I'm going to be on a plane again, but...
Oh, you were such kids.
Yep.
Are you in crisis? Call the Guidance Center's 24-hour crisis hotline at 877-756-4090. The Guidance Center is a nonprofit community mental health center with locations in Flagstaff and surrounding northern Arizona communities. The Guidance Center. It only takes a moment to get the help you need.
Today's correspondent, Joe Maniglia, with the cast of Othello, with Jesse Baxter in the title role, Erin Butcher as Iago, Rebecca Weigel as Desdemona, and a special shout out to Don Tucker, who was the assistant director, dramaturg of Othello, and is the executive director of the Flagstaff Shakespeare Festival. Flag Shakes is always doing wonderful shows. I think even during the pandemic, they've got streaming content going. Check out Flag Shakes for some great Shakespeare content, and a special thanks to Don Tucker. Live from the theater basement, producers Jamie Hassapis and Linda Sotera, engineer Matt Brewer, technicians Joe Maniglia, Ava Haynes, and welcome to the crew, Noah Bessler. Associate producers Virginia Brown, John Propster, and Michael Roulan. The crew, Casey Garcia, Madison Hartson, Malene LeBurge, Evan Luthi, Justin Moscow, and Marco Tenkumo. Dramaturgy, Theatrikos Artistic Committee. Play Curation, Northern Arizona Playwriting Showcase. Executive Producer Chris Farrell. Live from the theater basement, streaming live on Sunday evenings at 7:30 p.m. and available wherever you get your podcasts, is a production of Theatrikos Theatre Company in partnership with Northern Arizona Playwriting Showcase and Tutorin Films. Theatrikos Theatre Company, Flagstaff, Arizona, is the theater company of Northern Arizona and the Grand Canyon. Embracing the spirit of Broadway with shows like the family musical Matilda, the heartwarming Christmas classic Miracle on 34th Street, and the health and wellness family comedy Well, now playing and streaming into your home between now and February 14th. Tickets available at theatrikos.com. Live from the Theater Basement is a weekly show which alternates between 10-minute interviews and 10-minute plays, all about Northern Arizona and with Northern Arizona arts leaders. If you, as a listener viewer, have input, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at theater@theatrikos.com. Live from the theater basement, streaming live on Sunday evenings at 7:30 p.m. and available wherever you get your podcasts, is funded in part by the Flagstaff Arts Council, #CreativeFlagstaff, and the Arizona Community Foundation. Additional funding from Arizona Commission on the Arts, Flagstaff 365, BBB revenue of the City of Flagstaff, Great Circle Media, which is CAF Radio, and patrons of the arts like you. Thanks for joining us on Live from the Theater Basement. This is Theatrikos. Coming up next week on Live from the Theater Basement, we'll interview local arts leaders. The following week, it's the award-winning 10-minute play Toast, written by Andrew Breyer and directed by our very own Joe Washington. In this comedy, a young husband learns what's really important in a marriage. I guess that's an appropriate show for Valentine's Day, because Toast is Sunday, February 14th at 7:30 p.m. and wherever you get your podcasts.